Hey, this is Tommy Wiseau. How are you guys doing? Greg is here.
Hey, this is Greg, and you're listening to Upside Down Shock Radio.
Yeah, be upside down. Don't worry about it.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Upside Down Shock Radio, episode 19. I am your host, Tom. I can't think of a funny name, so I'm just going to go with what I am. What me mama called me. Joining me tonight is my good friend, your good friend, all our good friend, Mr. Paul Wood. How you doing, Paul?
Not too bad, Tom. How you doing, guys?
And we're just going to run through what's been happening in the world of pop culture this week, seeing the goings on in the world of music, comic books, maybe. Although, if you're listening to this, you will have just heard our special episode featuring one Craig and one Paul talking about their favourite comic books in 2018. But this week we'll also be talking films, wrestling, a bit of everything. We're just going to sort of take it easy, have a bit of a chinwag and see what's what.
Yeah.
But first of all, Paul, how you been doing, man?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad.
What you been up to?
Strangely enough, I've been replaying an old game.
Oh yeah.
Because I haven't really got anything new to play at the moment.
It is that awkward time of year where there's not really a lot out.
Yeah, there's a couple of bits come out in the last week or so, like a couple of weeks, but nothing that really piqued my interest very hard. So I went back to playing an older title.
And what would that be?
That'd be Fable 2.
The fablest of twos.
Yeah, it's turns out it's backwards compatible, so you can play it on the Xbox One.
Nice.
You can pick it up for a couple of quid. And being that it's 10 years old, the game still holds up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It was definitely ahead of its time when they released it. Obviously, it was one of the first ones to have, like, a dog buddy system. Where, like, obviously now Fallout utilises dog.
Yep. Dog meat.
Far Cry 5 comes out very soon.
Far Cry meat.
With dog. Yeah, Fable 2, as far as I'm aware, was one of the first ones to give you dog.
See, I've never really played any of the Fable games, but I remember you telling me that there's a lot of famous faces lend their voice talents.
Oh yeah. The main voice is Zoe Wanamaker. She's one of the main characters in the game. Another one is Stephen Fry.
Never heard of him.
You've definitely heard of Stephen Fry. Bit of Fry and Laurie, Jeeves and Wooster.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Oh.
I know the one who plays the guy from Blackadder, but that's it.
General Melchett.
Yeah, that's him. Never heard of him.
Yeah, that's him.
Never heard of him.
Yep.
I'm being very facetious.
I figured. Yeah, no, he's in it. Strangely enough, a very early character that you come across in the game is literally a couple of lines of dialogue. It turns out it's James Corden.
Oh dear.
Yeah, bearing in mind this is 10 years ago, so this was before he made a break.
Before he became James Corden.
Yeah.
That James Corden.
Literally just a few lines of dialogue in Fable 2, James Corden.
Interesting. See, yeah, what is it, Peter Molyneux, who's the creative lead behind all the Fable games. I know he's always been teasing another one, hasn't he? But it's been, God, it must be getting on nearly 10 odd years since we've had a new Fable title, like Fable 3.
Fable 2 is 10 years old.
Fable 2, sorry. Yeah.
Fable 3 is probably about 7 years old, I think, now.
It's still an awful long time.
But yeah, they were teasing a Fable 4 at one point. But as far as I know, they scrapped Lionhead Studios. So
that's a shame.
So it's a very real possibility we won't get another Fable game, despite being like a Fable MMO would go down so well these days, especially as progressive as the game was, because one of the earliest games that you could have a sex change in.
Interesting.
You can choose to be straight, gay. You can marry. You can not marry. You can have kids.
Cool.
You can become a real estate mogul if you wish, which is the way I've played it, and I've got about 3 million gold in the bank.
All that third tier capitalism coming into play already.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's just been one that sort of slipped my cracks. Oh, that sounds a bit risque.
It's slipped your crack, has it?
It has slipped my crack. No, it's been one that I've never played any of them, and I've always meant to, because just the animation style, the character and the lore behind it has always been really interesting to me. But I've just been real lazy and haven't picked it up.
Yeah,
but,
the gameplay holds up. Dialogue is still funny. Like there's like, it's one of those ones that they didn't really take it too seriously when writing it, so the background conversations are hilarious.
Interesting. I will definitely have to check that out. But looking to the future of gaming, after looking at the past of gaming. Have you heard of a little game called Shaq Fu?
I have, yes.
Now, I say looking to the future, our older listeners may have already heard of a little fighting game called Shaq Fu, combining the talents of Shaquille O'Neal and your regular beat-em-up fighter game.
Yep.
It's coming back. It's coming back in a big way, because not only is this going to be a little indie release, they are doing a full physical release of Shaq Fu, A Legend Reborn this spring.
That's crazy and fantastic.
So you will be able to play as one basketball player, Shaquille O'Neal, on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch this spring. And I just couldn't be happier that we're getting these ridiculous balls to the walls games in 2018. In a time when everything seems to be getting a bit too serious for my liking, there still is that nugget of just ridiculousness of 90s video games coming back and staying alive, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It seems to be a case of the more the real world gets occupied with itself, the more that the independent world creeps out.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you even have to look at the Marvel films. The ones that have really performed in recent years have been the directors, the ones that have been helmed by directors who are well known for their indie work. So like Taika Waititi with Thor Ragnarok. I believe the director of Black Panther, the name escapes me right now, but they were predominantly an indie film director before they took on Black Panther. So
I believe so.
Yeah, the ones that are taking the acclaims are the ones that have been given to the lesser known figures, and it just goes to show that people are cooler before they get famous. The hipsters, the cool guys.
That can only bode well for the upcoming Kung Fury movie, which is being made.
I did see a report that apparently that they think they may have bitten off more than they can chew with this upcoming project, because I'm a huge fan of the original Kung Fury.
I am. Like, when it first dropped, I watched it twice in a row, like literally back to back. It finished.
It warrants
I
it.
started it again.
It warrants it.
It was phenomenal. It's like instant classic, one of my favourites.
It's just perfect.
Yeah, they're making a full feature length movie as opposed to a 30-minute
nice
short. What is classified as a short?
Well, I mean, I could have definitely stood to see it go another 3 or 4 hours, to be honest.
Yeah, no, apparently David Hasselhoff has a role in this one.
Perfect.
And I heard reports a day ago, yesterday, that Michael Fassbender is now attached.
No way. Really?
I don't know how, but yeah.
Good lord. I didn't think he had a sense of humour. I'm very happy about that.
Like, yeah.
As long as they keep the same Swedish guy on board to play
it's the same
Fury.
same writer-director.
Beautiful.
Because the guy that played him is the writer and director.
Oh, you have no idea how happy that makes me. Oh, he's like the Tommy Wiseau if Tommy Wiseau had talent. Sorry, Tommy. I love you really. But speaking of Tommy Wiseau, I have spent my week not doing a lot of work, and I went to see The Room again in the Prince Charles Cinema. 3rd time, and I tell you, it never gets old. So I was lucky enough to meet Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, the two leads in the film. Tommy Wiseau also being the producer, director, editor. This film is him, and he is this film.
Near winner of a Golden Globe.
Well, he could very well be a winner of vicarious winner of an Oscar before too long. So yeah, I got to meet him. I was lucky enough to have a quick chat with him again, and I'm sure, as you've heard on this episode, even got him to do a little intro for the podcast. So thank you very much, Tommy. The film is the Rocky Horror of this generation, purely because watching it by yourself, it's not the point. Like, it's enjoyable in a kind of ironic sense, but it comes to life when you're watching it in a cinema with like-minded people who are willing to engage with the ridiculousness and the hilarity of it all. Like, obviously, Rocky Horror, you get the sing-alongs and whatnot. Yeah. The Room, one of the most famous tropes, I may have mentioned it on the podcast before, the set design was so bad that all the photo frames in the house, they didn't remove the stock imagery, so every photo frame in the house just has an image of a spoon in the frame. So his house is just littered with framed pictures of spoons. So the fan base have taken it upon themselves to, anytime there is a picture of a spoon on screen, to hurl plastic spoons at the screen, shouting "spoons!" and honestly, it's just something you have to experience in your lifetime. Even if you're not a fan of the film, by the time you've left the cinema, you just can't help but be in a great mood. And I mean, if that's a legacy that he leaves, then by all means, he's made a work of art.
Yeah, no, so, if he's left the world a better place than he came into it.
Yeah, but he is just insane. He is just insane, and I love him for it. It's just so funny seeing him being completely off the handle, and Greg, his co-star, just looking absolutely done with all this nonsense on a daily basis, just sighing in resignation at all these dreams of being a legitimate actor, fading away as he has to cash in off this film that he made basically as a favour. So yeah, it's good times. And also we got a trailer for Incredibles 2 dropped today.
I believe it's literally just dropped as we've been speaking. Yeah,
so that is something that I'm sure we will review in due course. But I mean, Incredibles is just, it's probably my favourite Pixar movie out of all the ones that have stood.
Yeah, I'd say it's up there at least.
Frozone.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Frozone. Where is my super suit?
I will watch anything with Samuel L. Jackson in it.
As would I. I'm actually trying to think of an exception to that rule, but I'm really struggling. I think he is good in everything.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. It's Samuel L. Jackson. It's worth watching.
I mean, he made the prequels good.
Yeah.
He's a top man. Samuel, Mr. Jackson. If you're listening to this, please come on our show. We would love to shower you with praise and ask you how your day is, plus maybe rub your feet should you permit it. Thank you. But that's also a good segue because I haven't mentioned it yet. If you do want to be on the show, please email us at upsidedownsharkradio@gmail.com. I remembered it. Or hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, I think. All those good stuff. Just give us a line. We'll have you on. We've had the likes of Frank Turner, Bowling for Soup recently. So you'll be in good company. And as I said, if you've got a project, we'd love to talk about it, share it with the wider Upside Down Shark community. I think we called him the Shark Tank. I can't really remember, but I quite like that, so let's go with him. And on that note, let's dive right into a bit of music news. Paul, are you a fan of the Smashing Pumpkins?
I have been known to listen to a little bit of Billy Corgan every now and again.
William Patrick Corgan, you say? Well, what would you say if I told you that they are reforming with 3 out of 4 of the original members?
That's some pretty good news.
I mean, that is pretty shocking considering the state that they left the band in the early 2000s.
Well, yeah, I suppose it was but he's not really been doing much recently.
I mean, he worked in TNA for a little bit.
He tried to buy TNA, didn't he?
Yeah, but then he ended up just buying the NWA because they are worth nothing anymore. But yeah, I mean, I've always had a massive soft spot for the Smashing Pumpkins from an early age because I remember distinctly must have been sort of 5 or 6 and seeing him in that episode of The Simpsons, Homerpalooza.
Yep.
With the immortal line, Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins, Homer Simpson smiling politely, which is just never gets old. And yeah, they've just announced their reunion tour across the US later this year. I can't remember the exact dates, but hopefully that will lead to a UK tour for us Blighty schmoes.
Yeah, we might get a chance to actually see them in our...
Because I know that even in this sort of period of reconciliation, as it were, there is controversy wherever Billy Corgan goes, and apparently Darcy, the female bassist, she has allegedly, according to herself, not been invited back, even though the other 3 have maintained that she's not returning their calls. So there is some weird discrepancy there. So I mean, they're never far from controversy, but it's good news. It's good news because obviously their hits were all around the time when it was the creative force of all of them together. Yeah. I mean, Billy Corgan has kept the Pumpkins going in some shape or form throughout the 2000s and the 2010s, but they've never quite been there. There's been times when they have released some good tunes, but there's nothing quite like Zero or Bullet with Butterfly Wings or Today or Disarm.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what sort of thing they bring to the table these days. Like whether whether their music has matured as
I think it probably has. I mean, I can't really say I know much of what the other guys have done musically since leaving the Pumpkins. I mean, Billy Corgan's definitely been the most prolific and the most prevalent within pop culture.
Yeah.
And he's taken some risks with their tunes, and some of them to great effect. So it'd be good to see whether or not this matured sound that he's been experimenting with, blending different genres, whether it be sort of like 60s psychedelic stuff or more synth-based stuff. It'd be good to see whether or not that blends with the rest of the guys. But yeah, I think it's cause for optimism. I'm looking forward to seeing what they put out.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. First we had the Distillers.
Yes.
Talking about their comeback show. Now you got Smashing Pumpkins. It seems like it's going to be a pretty good year for music.
Yeah.
That's on our side of the fence, anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could be a good year for rock. It's just a shame that Reading announcement, that Reading and Leeds announcement, was hot garbage. It was. I mean, I was looking at this. 2014, I went to Reading Festival, and the three headliners were Queens of the Stone Age, Arctic Monkeys, and Blink-182. Now that is a good voice crack. See how impassionate I'm getting about this. That is a good range of the rock and pop rock genre. You've got
it's a bit pop punk, bit indie, bit
of just like classic old school rock and roll. So I mean, just from the headliners perspective, you're looking at a good range of appealing to a lot of genres. They've just gone with the most basic populist choices this time, and I know that sounds a little contradictory, but Kendrick Lamar, that's fine. Kings of Leon, they haven't been relevant for about 10 years, and even then, when they were doing the whole Sex on Fire, Use Somebody stuff, it was watered down source of what they were doing before, with like their more beardy phase, when they were doing like Four Kicks and Molly's Chamber and the stuff that was actually a little bit innovative. And Fall Out Boy, just the same. I mean, you could argue that their more poppy stuff is okay. I mean, it's well produced, but it's not what made them, and it's more indicative of Reading going to be becoming the next Tea in the Park or Glastonbury.
It's the Isle of Wight Festival.
I mean, you only have to look 10 years ago. They had Rage Against the Machine, Tenacious D, and all the likes of that lot just topping the bill.
Yeah, I mean, usually they used to have like regular headlines of like Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, it's just it seems to be losing its identity, and it's a real shame because it's always been one of those festivals that I've always kept an eye on the bill when they announce it, because you normally notice a few stellar acts, and it was always a good chance to find bands and like-minded people that you might not have found otherwise. It was a good introduction, but at the moment there is not one inspired choice on that bill.
No, it's just sort of a homogenous mass of music.
But our boy Craig will be happy because one Hollywood Undead is on the bill.
God,
who knew they were still going?
I don't think anyone did.
For the listeners who weren't aware, Craig, who I'm sure long-time fans will know is one of the leading voices on Upside Down Shock Radio, has a Hollywood Undead tattoo in the year of our Lord 2018. How this is allowed to be a thing is beyond me, because
does that class as a gang affiliation?
I don't know. Well, if an Insane Clown Posse connection counts as gang relation, then Hollywood Undead is definitely something of the same ilk. And yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Craig. I'm sorry if this is something you wanted to keep secret, but it's out there now. You have a Hollywood Undead tattoo. It's a pretty good one, I'll give you that. But nonetheless, it's a Hollywood Undead tattoo.
It is what it is.
And nothing's going to change that now, so good life choice there. And while we're sticking with music, I think it's time for a little break with our track of the week, which comes courtesy of Dissonance with their new single, if I just bring up the sheet, Exhale. I have heard it, I'm just wanting to make sure I get it right, which is off their debut EP Vultures, which will be out on the 20th of April. You can also see them at the Joiners later this next month, supporting Our Hollow, Our Home. So if you're a fan of the bit of rock and roll and a bit of the jinga janga, then definitely check them out. So without further ado, here is Dissonance with Exhale. Check it out. And we're back. That was Dissonance with XL. I hope you liked it. I know I did. Make sure to check them out at their Facebook page, which is just Dissonance. They're also on YouTube and all that good stuff. So make sure to give them some love and check them out at the Joiners in Southampton if you can.
Yeah, be sure to give them some likes, some follows. Like, pre-order their album.
And if you haven't followed Upside Down Shark Radio on Facebook yet, what are you doing?
Give us some likes and some follows.
Yeah, don't give it all to them, guys. We want the sweet, sweet love as well. We're all so lonely. We're all so lonely. And speaking of lonely, let's talk about some large, sweaty men and look at some wrestling news. What has been happening in the world of wrestling? Braun Strowman had a bass guitar. When I say bass guitar, I mean literally a double bass he used as a guitar.
Yep, it's an upright jazz bass.
That was pretty much my segment of the year so far. That was just...
Yeah, Braun Strowman's come a long way.
He really has. He really has. He's quickly become my favourite person on the current roster.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously they've got him in the Mixed Match Challenge with Alexa Bliss, Little and Large. Team Little Big.
You can't get any more littler and large than those two.
No, but they work perfectly together. Like they
definitely do.
They are a joy to behold.
Yeah, I mean it's such a weird journey that he's been on from being in the Wyatt family where he was just another voiceless monster with a limited wrestling range and no real upside other than he was a big guy. That was literally his gimmick. He was big strongman. Yeah. And since then, since the brand split and he's gone off on his own, he has done the path that they should have gone with Roman Reigns. Build him up as a monster, as someone who can just take down jobbers left, right and centre. Yeah. Put him in good feuds with good talent like Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens and whatnot. And just build him up as a legit threat. And that's what they've done. And they've not done it in a way that's left him without personality. He's all the stuff he's been doing with Alexa and loads of backstage segments. I would hazard to say that he has become almost a bit Stone Cold like. he could be the face of the company. I could quite, unlike someone like maybe Bray Wyatt or other members of the Wyatt family, I could see him on US Today the day after Mania with the strap on daytime TV because he has got that side to him.
I'm not sure he'd fit in the chair.
Well, they may have to get some sort of
not Big Show's chair. Not Big Show's chair.
They may have to get some sort of lounge to accommodate his girth. But
yeah, no, he's done incredibly well, especially in such a short space of time as well. Like his ability in ring, his ability on the microphone has just excelled. Like he's very quickly become one of the most valuable talents that they've got.
And he's not held a belt yet. He's not actually held any of the titles,
no.
And he's managed to build a character and build prestige without any of that. I think he's almost above belts and above brands now. He could turn up on SmackDown, tear the house down, and I'd be like, that's not weird. That's just something that Braun might do. He might just like flip a truck up over and land it on Shane and Daniel Bryan. That's just something that might happen. So
yeah.
He's invaluable. He's indispensable to them now. I can see big things for him. I know that they've rumored that he may face The Miz for the IC strap at Mania.
He'll take that easy.
I know he will, but that is a feud I'd like to see, and that's why they reckon the Miz has gone over Roman twice clean because they want to build him up as at least a somewhat credible threat against Braun, and the character work between those two could be stellar.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what they can build up in such a short amount of time, particularly because they are on opposite brands. But yeah, I could see good work go between those two. I'd be quite happy to see that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I think they'll feud pretty well. Obviously, Roman
Reigns.
Braun. His mic work has come along a long way, and obviously Miz is one of the best on the mic that they've got.
He's another one that in recent years has just come alive. He's gone from being the definition of a mid-carder to probably the best mid-carder in history. I mean, I would say best IC champ ever?
No.
You're gonna. I know who you say. You say Jericho, aren't you?
I was gonna say Cody.
Okay.
I've always been a massive fan of Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. I think The Miz has made the IC title potentially the biggest belt on Raw. Oh no, wait, is The Miz on Raw now? He is on Raw, isn't he? Hush my mouth about that thing being on opposite brands earlier. I've got way confused. They keep moving the IC and the US title about, so I get confused. Anyway, considering that Brock is never about and uses the Universal title basically as a coaster 300 days a year, The Miz has legitimized the IC title as the belt to have on Raw, and I don't think that's been an easy feat considering you look at the history it's had in the past 5 odd years where it's basically been a hot potato between mid-carders and lower mid-carders. I mean, I love Curtis Axel, but the fact that he's held the IC strap shows you what state it was in not too long ago.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's not a bad wrestler. He's very talented.
Still in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
He's still lost.
Still going.
Yeah.
But he's just, I don't know. He just seems to be lacking something, and the fact that they've given the IC title to someone that's lacking something.
Yeah, I mean,
takes away from the belt itself.
And even in more recent years, Ryback's had it after Daniel Bryan had to vacate it, and it just goes to show that they did not value it. It was a tool to get at least a modicum of a story out of a mid-carder, whereas now it is something that you think, dang, like that's something to really want. Yeah, that's why I was kind of hoping that because The Miz, as far as I'm aware, he got the IC title just before the Rumble, was it? I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
It was just before or just after. And anyway, there was talk leading up to that while Roman was holding the strap, the Miz would win the Rumble, and instead of challenging for one of the top belts, would say, "I want my IC title back," and just that would be the way that they would win the Rumble. And that was, I mean, it turned out to be fantasy booking, but that would be amazing just the idea that the IC belt means so much to him that he wins the Rumble and was like, nah, forget your Universal and WWE titles. I want the belt that I've made legit, and he wants to protect that legacy.
Yeah, I mean, the best case scenario for running a program like that would be if that's the last belt that somebody, or if that would be the last belt that somebody needs for a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Say they've held all the other titles and they just need the IC title. If you want to put the IC title into a WrestleMania moment like that, then you have that as the last belt. So he wants to win his Grand Slam at Mania. And so instead of choosing one of the main straps, he chooses the IC title.
Yeah.
An IC title match headlining WrestleMania.
I would love to see that. I'd love to see that. I also think it's probably the best looking belt in wrestling. Well, at least in WWE. Yeah. I love that white strap.
Yeah,
I love that white strap.
Cody's the one that brought it back to white.
Yeah. Yeah, God bless Cody. Is he still ROH champ?
I believe so.
Yeah. Top man. Can't wait for All In. That Bullet Club show is just going to be off the hook. CM Punk's coming back. I'm calling it. CM Punk will make an appearance. Bryan Danielson will make an appearance, and it will be real. Like Bullet Club, it will be real.
It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
It's going to be off the hook.
It will.
Super kick party all night long.
Oh, can we go? Do you think we could get tickets? Like, how much time can you take off work? Because Chicago is a calling. It's
a long way to go.
It's a long way to go, but goddamn. Anyway, I think that's the last bit of wrestling news, just to wrap up on that. Dolph Ziggler, apparently they've explained why he had the most underwhelming return at the Rumble.
Okay.
Apparently he was 1 foot out the door at that appearance. That was meant to be his last appearance.
Okay.
And then he just signed a new contract, which is super cushy. So it means that he can leave after his segment is done on that night, so he doesn't have to stay behind in the locker room. So he can just go home after his slot. He can pursue projects outside of the WWE, providing it doesn't conflict with scheduling. So I know he's wanted to be a stand-up comedian for quite some time.
Fair.
And that's why he's sticking around. He's going to be happy to put people over just because, I mean, he's basically got a free ticket to print money at the moment. He can...
Fair. I mean, he has, in all fairness, he has earned it. Like, I've seen pay-per-views where he's had 3 matches in one night.
He is...
And they were 3 of the best matches of the night.
Well, he is probably the most talented person they have on the roster not to really get their time in the sun.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason he's been passed over more recently is because he was just impersonating Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, but other people have... I mean, Roman Reigns is just impersonating Diesel, and he's made a career out of that. And
yep.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously he has had problems with concussions in the past, so I know the WWE are a bit touchy about anything like that. But yeah, it's a strange one. He's got everything else. He's got the look. He's got the talent. He's got all the talent.
Yeah.
He's got the mic skills.
His ability to sell is maybe only second to probably Jeff Hardy.
Yeah,
nobody ragdolls like Jeff.
Yeah, that's because he's probably dead. Like it's just sheer will of power.
Only on the inside.
Yeah. I can't wait for them because they brought back Jeremy Borash to WWE as well, one of the leading creative figures behind the Broken Universe. So we could be seeing the glorious return of Brother Nero at some point as well. So.
With any luck.
Fingers crossed.
When Matt stops being woken and starts being broken.
Well, he apparently owns all the rights now. He owns all the rights, so TNA can't do anything about it. So it could be wonderful. Yes, that was actually a pretty good impression. And on that note, I think that's time to call it a day.
Yep. Yeah, I think we've exhausted.
I've run out of steam at least. So thank you very much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out our other videos and episodes. We recently chatted with Bowling for Soup of all people, and they told us what their favourite bowl was.
Not their bowl of soup, their favourite bowl.
Their literal favourite type of bowl. So if you're intrigued about that and many other questions about bowling and soup, be sure to check out that podcast. Also, a few weeks ago we talked to Frank Turner. Not sure if you heard of him. I'm pretty sure I've made that joke before. But he was a cool dude as well. So if you want to hear two cool dudes talking about cool dude things, check out that episode as well. And amongst all those famous high-profile things, you get the most famous high-profile people, us three here. So without further ado, I've been Tom.
I'm still Paul.
And Craig is somewhere in the ethereal nothingness of nowhere. And we are Upside Down Shark. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.